What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I am one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, a.k.a. the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day. We're in the final countdown here. It is
Final countdown.
There
There you go. I appreciate the support of that. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's in a month, dude. Today's the 5th. It's on May 6th.
Oh, okay. A month and a day.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. I feel like it always sneaks up on. There's a lot of preparation on our end.
Yeah.
On your end, I should say, for this. And mostly I just check in like, you cool? You all right?
You're
You
alive.
good? You okay? Yeah, it's a month away. What do you got to tell people about this one?
May 6th.
Yeah.
That's what I gotta say, May 6th. There's all kinds of interviews, preview pages, all of that cool stuff on the website. Now's the time to start getting your list together, what books you want to get, start making a plan, figure out if your shop is participating.
Yes, sir.
If they're not, where is the next closest shop you can go to? Start getting your ducks in a row. That's
Yes.
my message.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You're doing interviews on the website, right? And on top of that, there's, 60% of the books have previews now on the website
Yeah.
too? Yeah, okay. So, get a sneak peek, but definitely show up at your local comic shop on May 6th. We have not talked about The Mandalorian on the show.
No, which is crazy.
Which is nuts. I actually played, so I caught the first 2 episodes like about a few weeks ago, and then I kind of binged the last 3 because I think we're up to like 5 now.
Yeah, I've not seen the 5th one, and now the 6th one just came out today.
Okay.
So now I'm 2 behind again.
Right. Which is how it works. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? But I had this like almost overwhelming feeling of like, this is why I like Star Wars.
Yes.
This is why I like Star Wars, damn it. I said this before the show. Favreau he's just tapped into it.
He is.
He just gets it. What have been your impressions so far, besides clearly, this is why I love Star Wars?
I love it. I'm all about it. I have to say, I know that when the first episode came out, I did on this show say, I feel like Bo-Katan's out of character. It seems weird that she would be that. Totally was wrong. I was totally wrong about that. It makes perfect sense for her to be where she is now.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that she would join the covert and that because her whole thing is that she obviously feels out of place. She obviously feels like she doesn't have a community. And that Mandalore was done wrong, which they were, but she's kind of like this drifter as a result of it. So I love the idea that Mando would take her and be like, no, you're part of us now.
Well, I also think it's interesting. They kind of flipped roles, right? Like she had her tribe, and he was kind of drifting for a long time. So now they're kind of exchanging. I am guessing. Well, I'm not even guessing. I'm speculating because I'm still not 100% sure. If it turns out that Bo-Katan is on the up and up, I'm cool with that. Okay. That works for me. But there does seem to be something a little shifty about what's going on with her. I don't know what it is, but something about it is just sort of like, is there something else going on here that we don't know about yet?
I think she still has a burr in her saddle about not having the Darksaber.
Yeah, right. And so that might be it.
Right.
And that in itself might be some sort of conflict down the line.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I just thought that was really interesting. Like, something else is going on there.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. You said you watched everything up until last week's episode, right? Okay, so kind of spoilers here. I really appreciated the entire episode about the Empire foot soldiers.
Yes. Everyone said that was boring.
I saw that too, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
This is like, I saw people ragging on that, and I was like, no, this is not. Some people were like, this is a jump the shark moment or something like that. I was like, no. This is what I like. My attitude has always been Star Wars is not just the Skywalkers.
No,
right?
of course not.
And there's some people that completely disagree with me on that, right? Some of my friends are like, you're wrong, shut up. Right? Star Wars is about the universe.
Yeah.
And like, I have always been one of those people that like have, when they mentioned that they were going to do more stuff with the Skywalkers in the sequel trilogy, I was like,
and
obviously it didn't land. Obviously it didn't land. But like, it was one of those things where I was just sort of like seeing the re-education of the Empire, like the members of the Empire. I was like, this is what I want. Just tell me what happens next.
Right.
It's all episodic. Just keep going.
Literally.
It's meant to be episodic. So
I thought it made perfect sense too because it shows both sides of that coin, right? Like the soldiers that do want to do better, that do have seen the error of their ways with perishing and everything, and then the ones that are faking it till they make it, who are still like have the Empire in their blood through and through, and are working an angle. And I think that's important, because anytime a regime falls, it's not like all of the followers just go with it.
No, of course not. Right. And so I thought that was really interesting. I was way into that because. Yeah, that's what I've been wanting. Like, it's like anything that just kind of continues forward, I'm totally for that.
I also really appreciated the flashbacks to Order 66 and what went on in that. Just because, like, it's a Holocaust. So getting, like, the really brutal sides of that, you only see a little bit of it in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And seeing it from Grogu's perspective of, like, just watching all of the people you look up to die with no real concept of, like, why or what that means. And getting another Jedi was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know the guy, he was on that Jedi Temple show. I know people have been pointing out the guy who saved Grogu.
Oh, okay. I was like, yes, the Jedi Temple show.
I never really watched it, but it was like a game show or something like that, where he was like a Jedi Temple game show or something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I don't know, Riley, if you know what I'm talking about. Somebody knows what I'm talking about who's watching this. But he basically was like a game show host, but he would dress like a Jedi, and so they had him save Grogu, which makes him officially part of the canon, I guess. So I thought that was kind of nice. That was kind of cool too. I mean, like, I was sitting there watching it, and like, I was sitting right next to Liz, and I was like, oh, Coruscant. Okay. She was like, you just know all these things? Okay. I was like, yeah, I'm genuinely surprised. I'm here for it. So, yeah, I highly recommend Mandalorian. It's been nothing but a blast so far.
We have some comments coming in.
What we got? What's going on in the comments? Hi, free comment day.
Yay!
Sorry, that's your job, Riley. You're supposed to read
we have absolutely loving The Mandalorian. The guest stars in today's episode were amazing.
Oh, okay. Well, something to look forward to.
Speaking of Star Wars, I've been enjoying Bad Batch Season 3.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And then some people talking about how you guys really need to see the newest episode.
Oh no.
Okay.
Pivotal ending scene.
Pivotal.
Crying in the club over Star Wars.
And then we also have, I heartily agree about that episode. It fleshes out an already huge universe.
Absolutely.
Oh, the episode with the Empire.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%.
Like, it's just important to having like a fleshed out universe. Is it can't just be like action, main characters. Like, you can't just have an entire universe of action and main characters. Like, you need to build around that. So
yeah, I sometimes, and I don't want to, we don't have to. We always get into the weeds with this Star Wars conversation, right? But like, I sometimes, like, even with Book of Boba Fett, like, I felt like people were getting antsy after the first 2 episodes, and I'm just like, Star Wars has kind of always traditionally been a bit of a slow burn.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where's this action-hungry audience that suddenly all of a sudden, like, where's the bloodshed and the carnage and, like, the lightsaber action? I'm like, Star Wars, like, it took, well, I want to say it took damn near like 15, 20 minutes for Luke Skywalker to even show up in the first movie. So
yeah.
So I'm always kind of like confused by
there's no
that.
action until like halfway through the first movie. I mean, he gets the lightsaber and points it in his face, but that's not action.
He does do that. It's very true. Anyway, all right, let's get off Star Wars because we will be here forever.
All day.
All day. All right, so it is Wednesday. It is New Comic Book Day, so Ashton and I have our picks this week. And when we get back, we'll give you those. And on top of that, we'll show you what's available on the new release shelf. Still not quite sure what to do with my hair.
You look great.
It's
you know what?
It's got a weird seaweed thing going on right now.
Giving Zero from Holes.
I do not remember that at all. No. You said Zero, and I thought of the dog from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Riley, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Okay, great, thanks.
I have no idea. How about you go first this week while I get my thoughts together, because I got some things to say.
Okay, I'm really excited about my pick this week.
Okay.
Okay, so important context, though. I read a lot of books last year, and one of the things I learned in all of that reading last year is that I actually really appreciate a biography or a memoir, especially about people who have just like lives that were completely just off the rocker, like nuts. Like I read Elton John's memoir last year, nuts.
That's probably
crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So my pick this week is a biography. It's called Black and White: The Rise and Fall of Bobby Fischer. It's from Abrams Comic Arts. This guy had a crazy life. So he's one of the youngest chess champions ever. So he dropped out of school, dropped out of high school because he kind of felt like he was a loner and he had nothing to accomplish in school because he was like a chess prodigy. So he wanted to become a chess player. And in 1972, during the height of the Cold War, he plays what's referred to as the game of the century against Soviet Union's chess champion Boris Spassky, and he wins, which is awesome. It's great. Then there's a bunch of drama because it's the Cold War about like a rematch, and he doesn't want to do the rematch, and then they do the rematch in Yugoslavia, and Yugoslavia was under a bunch of sanctions from the UN. It was a whole thing. So the U.S. ended up real mad at him. In the meantime, though, he goes on to become the youngest ever U.S. chess champion and the youngest ever Grandmaster champion. But as you pointed out when I mentioned this to you, ends in tragedy, has to, goes left.
Of course.
He kind of has like a breakdown, like a mental breakdown, and he becomes like super paranoid. He's in and out of mental health institutions, and weirdly enough, goes on like an anti-Semitic rampage, despite being Jewish himself. Like, he was Jewish.
Okay, wow.
Went on an anti-Semitic rampage.
Okay. Interesting.
Not sure what that was about. And then he dies as a fugitive in Reykjavik, Iceland.
Oh, wow. Okay, I guess I won't spoil it. I'm like, he's a fugitive from what? But anyway, okay, all right. No, I'm into it. You know, there was a movie about him, like in the 90s, I want to say?
I'm sure there was, because this screams movie.
No, it does.
This is a hot mess.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, so what's the title again? The Rise and Fall of Bobby Fischer?
The Rise and Fall of Bobby Fischer.
All right, cool. And I guess this is, so I guess it's a soft cover.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be really cool as a hardcover with like a jacket and everything.
I saw Abrams Comics art, and I kind of assume it might be a hardcover, but that's not necessarily true. So,
I don't know. It doesn't say hardcover in the description, but they usually do hardcovers.
Okay. All right, I'm into it. I'm here for the rise and fall stories, the real life rise and falls. Those are always fascinating.
They're always bonkers.
Always bonkers, absolutely, so true. Ashton, I don't know if you know this, but the showcase of the Immortals was this past weekend.
Okay.
WrestleMania.
I do know that. I ran into one of our coworkers, Nicole Santo, at Target, and she was stocking up on snacks for WrestleMania.
She's having a WrestleMania party.
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous, actually. I'm actually a little upset that I did not get invited to that, Nicole. But yeah, so because of that, I just was in the mood for some wrestling. And it just so happens that this weekend, codename Ric Flair from Scout Comics is dropping into your local comic shop. Something about this kind of makes sense.
Yes, perfect. I love that he's in a purple leisure suit.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he's Ric Flair. He's the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, limousine riding, son of a gun.
Yes.
Right? Ric Flair considered by many to be the greatest wrestler of all time.
The sweatiest wrestler of all time.
And the sweatiest wrestler of all time. And the most manic. But also, that's saying a lot too, actually. But yeah, this book kind of frames him as a wrestler / super spy.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Which kind of, I don't know, it makes sense. And actually the basis for this is that he used to travel the world all the time. And so I haven't read the issue 1 yet, of course, but I guess I'm assuming the idea is that it makes him a perfect person to be like, hey, can you do some spy work for us? So. It's coming from Scout Comics. Series purports that Flair, who did in fact travel around the world for wrestling matches, was also a secret agent for the U.S. government, using his persona as the ultimate wrestling heel as the perfect cover. And so this particular story takes place in the 80s. I feel like other stories, subsequent issues might continue through the 80s, through the 90s. I'm here for it. I'm here for I'm fascinated by the constant reinvention of Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely a thing. I have noticed in the last couple of months that he's kind of turned into this Miami trap lord who's best friends with Bad Bunny.
Yeah. How? How did they meet?
What
do they talk about?
I don't know, but it's a thing. And so I'm just really interested in this idea of okay, let's do a completely bonkers comic where Ric Flair is a super spy in the 80s. I think that's beautiful. So. Truth be told, though, probably the real story of Ric Flair in the 80s is way more fascinating. I'm sure.
His real life is also probably bonkers.
His real life is also bonkers, 100%. But yeah, that's available this week from Scout Comics for you WrestleMania fans, you WWE fans out there. Be sure to pick that up. So, of course, comics aren't the only thing available at your local comic shop. There's also toys. Actually, I'm not sure. Are we doing toys or comics? Okay. So comics are available.
There are toys there, too.
Well, there are toys there as well. Here's Anamia with a bunch of other titles that are available at your local comic shop. And when we come back, we'll get into some news.
Hey, everyone. Do you know what new comics are coming out this week? No? Well, let's take a look. Here's what you can find at your friendly local comic shop for the week of April 5th, 2023. pick up a copy of this month's previews catalog to see all the amazing pop culture goodies that you can pre-order at your friendly local comic shop.
And that's just some of what's available at your local comic shop. So much stuff hits your local comic shop every single week. Head on over to PREVIEWSworld.com/new releases. And I see what we got here in the comments.
We have whatever you can do, Ric Flair can do cooler.
It's true.
Very true.
Yo, if they do this entire comic book series run and there's not a single woo, I'm going to be disappointed.
I mean, it has to be.
We also have a comment from Ubaldo saying, Troy, no wrestling t-shirts today?
I know, right? I actually wore the Macho Man shirt last week.
Yeah.
Not realizing the WrestleMania was this weekend, this past weekend. So, yeah, that's on me. That's on me. If it's any consolation, I've been watching. I've been wearing an Austin 316 shirt around the house for the last several days. It's probably a little funky right now, but that's okay. Is that it for comments? Okay, cool. All right, let's get into some news because I want to talk about some of this stuff in particular, the E3 thing in particular. So let's just dive in. Uh-oh, phones are making noise. All right, let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm good. I'm here.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right, so first up is Joe Quesada, former editor-in-chief of Marvel, your buddy Joe, signed a first-look deal for TV and film at Amazon Studios. So under this deal, he'll develop film and TV projects with a particular focus on adapting comic book IP, including both new and existing titles.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
All right.
And he has quite the resume of shows he's already had his hands in. He worked on all of those Marvel Netflix shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Defenders. He also worked on ABC's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's got a good resume here. Interesting that he would take it to Amazon Studios, although they've been having a moment with The Boys and Invincible.
True. Yeah, they have.
Thoughts, feelings?
I mean, cool. I mean,
Cool.
I mean, he was the CCO of Marvel for several years before that, editor-in-chief. I've talked quite a bit about, I came back into comics in the Joe Quesada era. So I know not everybody loves him. Some people are real salty still about, One More Day, the Spider-Man story. But at the same time, I'm like, Joe Quesada got me back into comics, so I got no problem with that. Him and a handful of other people got me back into comics, so let's see what he does at Amazon Studios. Maybe lightning can strike twice.
It's incredible the way nerds hold grudges.
Yes, it is.
It's impressive. I'm still mad about this thing from 20 years ago.
Oh my God. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were having a really good conversation, and then I brought up the Batman, and he was like, I don't like sparkly vampires. And I was like, are we still doing this? Like, seriously?
Was he sparkly in the Batman?
No.
Right, so shut up.
He's like, I just can't get past that. I'm like, are
you
you
don't
serious?
want to get past that.
I was like, come on, man. I was like, let him be an actor for God's sake.
Jesus.
It's so ridiculous. Anyway.
That's so stupid. The amount of people that said that when the Batman came out, you all sound dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And you also sound like you don't have an original thought.
Yeah, just an echo chamber.
No offense to my friend, but yes.
No offense, buddy, but get a better opinion.
Anyway, what else is going on?
All right, E3. So there's a lot of moving parts here. So I'm gonna try and break it down. So about a year ago, E3 announced its return to a live event after E3 2022 was canceled. But just earlier this week, E3 2023 has also been canceled. Yeah. And so the cancellation was initially announced to members and vendors of E3 via email. And the email said, while E3 remains a beloved event and brand, the 2023 version simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of the gaming industry. And so in that initial email, there was no mention of future events or trying to revamp the show again in 2024 or beyond. So that happens, and then Kyle Marsden-Kish, the global VP of gaming for ReedPop, organizes and hosts the event, he released a public statement saying that this was a difficult decision because of the effort we and our partners put towards making this event happen, but we had to do what's right for the industry and what's right for E3. We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have had playable demos ready in time, and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. which is interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, yeah.
But then also in this press release, they did then say that they would be working on future E3 events.
Interesting.
So those two things seem to be competing with each other.
Yeah.
And it's also worth mentioning that Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Ubisoft had all decided they were going to do their own showcase events.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my question to you, is this a death knell?
I mean, I kind of expect the repeat of this next year.
Oh, really?
I do.
Hey, A3's back. Just kidding. E3's canceled?
Yeah, like, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe there's a soft announcement, like, later in the year. It's just like, yeah, we're just not coming back.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, Mike pointed this out to me. I was of the mindset, I was like, look, so like a few years ago, even before the pandemic, some of the big AAA people, like, kind of dropped out of E3. And we're just opting to do, like you said, their own thing. Mm-hmm. And people are already kind of like, okay, this is a shift that's, indicating like the end that maybe this E3 is obsolete now. And so I think over because of COVID and because that had already started, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a good look in the long run, No. And Mike had pointed this out to me because I was sort of like, E3 should have just shifted focus to a handful of like, big names, maybe some Twitch streamers, right? And indie creators, because there's just so many of them now.
Yeah.
But Mike was like, well, technically PAX already does that. And I'm like, actually, you know what, you're absolutely right. PAX does already do that. So that's also kind of getting like, them getting beat to the punch. I do find it interesting that this Reed Papa, was it president?
Yeah, VP.
VP was like, they wouldn't have demos in time. That has never stopped people at E3 before, let me tell you.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like every time I've heard of something from E3, it's like a quarter of a game. It's like a quarter of a game.
Right, or even worse, they say it's a demo, but really it's not.
Like none of that stuff ever shows up in the game.
Right, exactly. Or it's just like, it's a full motion video or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it now. They don't call it FMVs anymore, but like, it's like basically a cinematic. There you go, that's what you call it.
Yeah.
And like they're trying to pawn it off as playable. So
right.
Yeah, it's bizarre. You guys have seen the thumbnail, right? Like, I think, and I swear I'm not trying to be fatalistic.
Let's do it.
I'm not trying to be fatalistic.
Ring the alarm bell. Let's hear it.
I'm not trying to be alarming here. I'm actually okay with this, truth be told.
Oh, interesting. All right, let's hear the take.
Okay, so it makes me wonder if we've passed a point where geek culture is no longer, we're at the point where geek culture is no longer mainstream. And I only say that because there's been a collection of things in the last year or two that have kind of like indicated that maybe this is going in a different direction. I had to write them down because I was like, this is actually an interesting laundry list of things, right?
Okay.
We were just talking about Star Wars, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that the leveling out of Star Wars enthusiasm, I'll say, is an indicator. Like I feel like Ashton's looking at me real steely right now.
I don't think it's an indicator per se. Yeah. I don't think it's an indicator that nerddom is not mainstream. I think Star Wars is a hard case to make because people get so angry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like there's just so many opinions, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Skywalker saga. Yeah. So I actually think them having moved away from the Skywalker saga just leveled opinions in general. Because you're not burning as hot, you don't know anything about Mandalorian. You don't have like an expectation of him. You don't have an expectation of Andor or Ahsoka or whatever. So I think it's just smart on their part. Maybe that does end up making it less mainstream by default, but I think it makes it more sustainable.
It's funny, watching The Mandalorian, actually, the other thought I had was that, like, it really was smart for them to just start over. I mean, not reboot start over, right? But just sort of like, okay, here's a character you haven't heard of in a role that you were very familiar with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, that's, because, I mean, they could have gone the Boba Fett route, right?
Yeah.
Like, off the break, you know what I mean? And seeing the Boba Fett show, it's kind of clear that, like, okay, the Boba Fett show is more of a response to what happened in Mandalorian than there was ever any intention of going in that direction in the first place. You know what I mean? So I think it was really smart. But here's my
sorry. Immediately okay. I was like, let me defend.
It's okay.
All right, I will shut up.
Because I'm looking for the pushback here. Because I tell me I'm wrong. But like, there's been a collection of things, right? San Diego Comic-Con not performing as well as it did in the past, right? In terms of attendance, right? The Star Wars thing, which I'll just say, the enthusiasm has leveled out in a way that seems kind of different and new to me. Ever since I've known of Star Wars, right? you know, Joss Whedon was like a nerd deity, several, like about a decade ago, and of course that rise and fall has happened, right?
Yeah.
You know, the Funko thing, we talked about this before in the show. Like, you know, there's the landfill thing with Funko is kind of a big indicator. Funko was a huge staple of the geek chic, you know, geekdom movement that had been going on for like the last 20 years. And the MCU, like, you know, we were like, you know, I've seen mixed responses to whether or not Ant-Man is a success or not a success, but you can't deny that the movies have been underperforming pretty consistently in the past year. Now, underperforming for Disney, right?
Right.
Like any other studio, things would be like success. They'd be greenlighting like sequels already, right? But again, MCU since 2008 has been a staple of this geek movement, right? That's been going on in pop culture. And it just makes me wonder now with E3, and again, we don't know if E3 is coming or going, you know?
Right.
But now with E3, it just kind of feels like we've transitioned out of a particular phase. Like all these things together.
Yeah, not necessarily a bad thing, like you said.
No.
I will say with San Diego, I know they had like attendance policies in the last couple years that affected turnout.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
2021, you couldn't, like, they didn't sell new tickets. You only could go if you had a ticket from their canceled 2020 event. So I think, I don't know that that's a good indicator per se. I guess my opinion is kind of twofold here. The first is, like, why are we using mainstream? If we're using mainstream as our barometer for how successful something is, that's a bad barometer.
Right, yeah, 100%.
And the other thing is maybe it's headed in a direction of like being more sustainable. Like it got so massive and it took on this like too big to fail mentality and it just got like it snowballed out of control and it just ballooned into all of these different shows and movies and this and that and all of these things that it's just you can't, it's like you always say, you have to edit your interest. You have to edit the things that you're participating in. So maybe if you wean those things down, it's more sustainable. And I don't think being more sustainable equals the end of something. It's just a new era. And I think having a more sustainable approach, probably you have a more stable audience versus.
And you know, like that's why I actually say, and I'm glad you brought that. You probably said it better than I could. Like, that's why I say it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because I'll be real with you. Like, I've kind of mentioned this on the show a few times. When the spotlight is not really on these things, they tend to get good.
Yeah.
Get good. G-E-T-G-U-D.
Exactly.
And I've kind of noticed a shift in like just like the last year and a half, just with the superhero comics. You know, well, actually just comics in general. I would say like there's just been a wave of just like, wow, this is actually really impressive. Like, you know, and I mean, of course, I'm talking about the Marvel and DC stuff, but also the indie stuff is also just riding high right now in a wave that's like, I'm actually like drowning in like books I can read right now. You know, I'm having trouble keeping up with stuff again, which is like something I can't really say was the case about like 5 years ago. You know, so I think we're seeing that shift, and I think it's for a good reason. Like, and I think that, you know, once the feeding frenzy for the mainstream kicks into play, there's always kind of this, I think, and it just might be me being an old nerd,
Let's
right?
do it.
But I always kind of feel like there's this moment where, you know, everybody's got their hands in the pot, right?
Yep.
And so nothing's really wholly satisfying.
Yeah.
You know? And I want to be clear, that's not a dig at, because you know, we got to point this out because people like to make these comments and talk about the culture war stuff, right? That's not a dig at diversity or, you know, sexual identity and like
representation.
How those things have representation in general that has shifted how we perceive these things. That's not the case at all. It's just that the corporate aspect of it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do something with these things, and it just kind of lessens the appreciation of it in some weird way, you know? And I mean, that's just the nature of it, so.
I agree, and it kind of, I think, I mean, comics will always have a gatekeeping issue, but I think the more popular these things get in the mainstream, the bigger the gatekeeping becomes.
Yes, yeah, right.
And the expectations are so spread out because you have your mainstream audience and your filthy casuals who want one thing, and you have your like dyed-in-the-wool comic book readers who have an expectation of another thing.
Yeah.
And you're not ever gonna win. You're not going to appease that audience when you have that many people watching it.
Right.
So if you can decrease the audience, decrease the expectations, then you stand a better chance of getting rave reviews.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. I think that, what did you say? You said it'd be more manageable, more sustainable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real thing, and I'm fine with that.
So am I.
We were just talking about Joe Quesada. When I got back into comics were historically at a low point.
Right.
Like the bubble had burst. And I had actually started to walk away from it because things had gotten truthfully, comics had gotten so mainstream in a way, right? That I just wasn't getting the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And so when I kind of circled back like about 4 or 5 years later, it was just sort of like, oh, this is edgier and like more in your face. And I'm like, this is actually really interesting. Like this is actually, and so, yeah, I think that this is when things get good, I guess is what I'm getting at. Riley. Am I right or am I wrong?
I agree. I feel like my opinion probably doesn't weigh as much as your guys. You guys have.
You're on the show. Your opinion matters.
I am in the show.
Let's hear an opinion.
But from me, I really agree with what Ashton said about it becoming more sustainable if it sort of moves out of this extreme, overhyped zone, which I think is good, especially for movies, honestly. Because right now movies are measured in Disney standards, like you're talking about, and so a movie isn't successful if it doesn't make just an obscene amount of money. So it'll be interesting to see if we start to kind of readjust our expectations for what a successful movie is.
That's a great point.
That's a great point.
We also have some comments about what we're talking about here. We have a nice RIP E3 comment. A lot of the companies that would present at E3 have been bought out by larger companies, and now the larger companies have enough going on to simply hold their own event, RIP E3. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's true for a lot of things, actually, right now.
Social media makes it harder for a lot more casual fans to get involved in fandom because a lot of the vitriol you see are from the hardcore fans. That's for sure true.
Yeah.
And then this is a comment from Mystical Green Beanie.
Oh, God.
I'm here for the downfall.
Of course he
Looking
is.
forward to less corpo geek material in the future.
Look, he's here to stir the pot. He always is. But it's not a bad take.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Getting away from the mainstream stuff, I think you need to separate in the conversation like the death of mainstream nerdom from the death of nerddom in general.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? Like just because it doesn't have that like extreme popularity like Riley mentions doesn't mean it's gonna go away forever. It might even be a little more of an inclusive space if it's smaller.
Yeah. I mean, I might get in trouble for this. I do feel that the spaces were more inclusive when they were smaller. Like, to be honest, and I know some people are like, oh, it's never been that way. I got into it when it was smaller.
Yeah, there you go.
So just kind of consider that. That's all I'm saying. Any more comments?
No.
Okay. Let's jump ahead. That was a great conversation. I appreciate you guys indulging me on that one. Let's jump ahead to this week's trailer, which is a book called Tombs from the legendary Junji Ito. This is from Viz Media, and when we come back, I'll tell you more about it. Check it out. Tombs from Junji Ito is actually already in comic shops. It came out March 29th. Countless tombstones stand in rows forming a bizarre town. What fate awaits a brother and sister after a traffic accident in this town of the dead? And it's like, of course, multiple tales. So in another tale, a girl falls silent, her tongue transformed into a slug. You gotta love Junji Ito. Can a friend save her? Then, when a young man moves into a new town, he finds the house next door has only a single window. What does his grotesque neighbor want? Calling out to him every evening from the lone window. These are fresh nightmares brought to you by horror master Junji Ito. This is Tombs from Viz Media in comic shops now. And of course, it's manga size, so be sure to pick that up, especially if you're in the mood for some nice horror. It's going for $25. You know what? We jumped ahead. We were actually going to talk about trailers. And so...
Yeah. You could have convinced me it was this part of the show, and I would have been like, yeah.
I actually thought it was too, so that's fine. But let's talk about some of the trailers dropped this week, because there was actually quite a few of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw all of them, but I'm going to go to the one I think you definitely saw.
I did watch all of them specifically to have an opinion, but yeah, let's talk about the one.
The one. It's not the one you guys think it is.
It is.
Barbie.
I wore a pink shirt today.
Let's talk about Barbie for a second.
I'm so excited.
Okay, yes.
I love Barbie. I collected Barbies for most of my life, so I'm all about her. I have high expectations for this. I think it looks really good. The casting could not be better.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig is writing on this, and I think producing as well. Her rendition of Little Women was phenomenal, so high expectations here as a result of that. I love the idea that it's just like a bunch of different Barbies and a bunch of different Kens. I wasn't expecting that.
I mean, but it makes sense too. Like, I mean, you can play that game now because, like, you know, Barbies have become more inclusive over time. So why the heck not? I love this. I love the look of it. I love the style of it. We were talking earlier about, like, Greta Gerwig in general is actually a really good storyteller. And I guess that's Kate McKinnon, isn't it? I just realized that is Kate McKinnon. Here for Issa Rae being in the movie, I kind of feel like she fits her delivery in general kind of fits the aesthetic as well. Also look at that. Jeez, look at that lineup. I'm surprisingly way into this.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that this like a couple of years ago, it was actually slated for I can't even remember her name now. A different actress was going to play her. She was actually really hot at the time.
Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer, there you go, right. And I'm kind of like, okay, things worked out for the best, I think.
Yes.
Because also they were going for more of a, I guess, deconstructive take. And, you know, just...
Not everything needs to be gritty.
Not everything has to be... Well, I don't even know if it was gritty. I just think that it might have tried to tear down just like the Barbie concept for a lot of people, just to be modern or contemporary, right? And I don't, like you said, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that to make a point. So, surprisingly way into the Barbie movie as well. Riley, Barbie movie, yay or nay?
So if I can chime in briefly,
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I'm super excited. I totally agree with what you said, Ashton. I've loved the last two movies from Greta Gerwig. Little Women and Lady Bird were amazing, so I'm super excited for this. And fun fact, it's coming out on my birthday, July 21st, which is the same day that Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is coming out. So I think my birthday plans are made.
I can't wait
and
to
it's
see
going to be
Oppenheimer.
Dragging my friends to the weirdest double feature ever.
Yeah, two totally different movies.
I couldn't be more excited.
Get Cillian Murphy and those crystal blue eyes, and then Margot Robbie doing Harley Quinn as Barbie.
Wait.
No, actually, I didn't. That's actually, I love how that's like supposed to be reverse programming, but little do they realize that Riley falls in both demographics.
You got it. I'm right there. I'm here for both.
Absolutely. There was another movie that Greta Gerwig was in that I absolutely loved when it came out. Now I can't remember what it's called. It was a Noah Baumbach movie, and I can't remember.
Frances Ha?
Yep, Frances Ha.
Wow.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Quick with that, Riley.
Yeah, Frances Ha. I actually love that movie. I actually just really enjoyed that movie. Anyway, let's jump over to the other trailers, right? So, enough about Barbie. Let's talk about Blue Beetle for a second.
Okay. I didn't think that's where we were headed.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about this for a second because I didn't realize that this was coming out until maybe about 5 months ago.
Okay. I was not aware of this until yesterday.
I mean, you know, the DCEU is in a bit of turmoil. This is definitely one of those movies that was being made before James Gunn kind of jumped into the pan. You know, and The Rock jumped out, or The Rock was like forced out. I'm not sure which one it is.
I'm still confused on that whole
I
thing.
mean, I think we're deliberately left in the dark about that
Okay,
process.
perfect.
And I think that's okay. I mean, you know, I've never read the newer Blue Beetle stuff, or the older Blue Beetle stuff either, to be honest. So
Yeah, same.
I don't have a horse in this race necessarily, but I hope it's successful. I'm curious about it. It looks cool. It looks fun.
The trailer was great. The trailer accomplished...
This was hilarious.
Yeah. The trailer accomplished exactly what a good trailer does, which is it told me a little bit about what's going on here, but kept most of it a secret and was hugely entertaining and got my attention.
Absolutely. Also, I'm a big fan of that actor whose name I cannot remember right now, but he was in the Cobra Kai series, and he was great in that as well.
Okay. Never watched that.
Yeah, also the costume looks cool, which is also awesome. Let's jump over to actually, you know what? Secret Invasion. I am super excited for Secret Invasion.
Samuel L. Jackson.
I know this is not. This is. Is that your entire comment? It's Samuel L. Jackson.
That's my opinion.
I can't do it. It's Samuel L. Jackson.
Jesus. I didn't get anything from this trailer. What is it? What am I watching?
Right. So I mean, this is definitely one of those things. This is for the comic book fans. It's
great.
Like,
I think that's great.
It's definitely.
I'm not against that.
It's definitely one of those things that like. These trailers have been hyping you off of knowing what the story is from the comics, right? Long story short, it's basically an invasion of body snatchers concept.
Okay.
Like that's it. A bunch of characters in the Marvel universe called Skrulls. They are able to mimic the appearance of anybody. Mm-hmm. They usually are a foil for the Fantastic Four, so I'm actually kind of curious at how that's going to lean into that a little bit.
Interesting.
Because we know the Fantastic Four movie's coming. I mentioned this online. Espionage, Cloak and Dagger MCU is my favorite MCU.
Okay.
Also goes for typically the Marvel comics as well. Mm-hmm. So anything involving S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, I love the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show up until a point. I love the TV show, the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. I'm all for this. I'm all in. So I don't know if you have a horse in this race, Riley.
Not really, but I will say that I'm really liking the actors that they have in this.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that Ben Mendelsohn and Olivia Colman are going to be in it. Yeah. I love both of them, so that's pretty exciting. And Amelia Clark too. Yeah. So I might check it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also here for the more serious MCU stuff. I know some people take issue with. I'm definitely one of those people. I take issue with the overly jokey nature of some of the Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, and you know, I'm still salty about how they revealed Samuel Jackson or Nick Fury's eye patch being a cat scratch from Captain Marvel. So still a little salty about that. It's not right, Ashton. It ain't right.
No, okay.
And Winter Soldier, he said, last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye, and it turns out that it was a damn cat. I can't.
That does feel.
That's a little disappointing.
That feels disappointing. I can get behind that.
So
feels like
I'm
a sellout.
It feels a little bit like a sellout. I just no. But hopefully we get some redemption here. Last but not least, Spider-Verse.
Oscar Isaac.
I love that. Your reviews are broken down into one person. It's just like Greta Gerwig, Samuel Jackson, Oscar Isaac. I got nothing bad to say about this. I already know I'm going to see it. I loved the first movie. Did not expect to love the first movie. And then I walked into it and I was like, damn, was that like the best Spider-Man movie?
So freaking good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. Yes, Oscar Isaac is playing Miguel Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
So,
who kind of like weirdly, I guess, with some intention, sort of looks like Oscar Isaac, but is like outrageously buff. Like I love the proportions of all of these characters. Like some of them are just Dorito shaped for no reason.
That's so true. Yeah, that's definitely a stylist. Dorito shape. I've been thinking about that the entire time I watch this movie now. Yes, Dorito shape is very accurate though. It's definitely a stylistic choice. But yeah, I mean, let's try to go. Issa Rae's also in this movie as well as Spider-Woman. Yeah, I'm curious about this. Like, I think it's going to be fun, and I can't say anything bad about it, truthfully. Like, when they said they were going to make it, I actually thought it was about, 2 years off.
Yeah, because the animation is, insane.
Yeah.
And the lead time on that would be crazy.
But they have fast-tracked this and made it happen, so I'm into it.
I did appreciate the one reference to the Spider-Man meme at the end of this trailer.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, absolutely. So, yeah, way into it. I don't know, Riley, you into this one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had the same experience you did, Troy. Mm-hmm. I was like, this could probably be okay. And it's, far and away my favorite Spider-Man movie. Probably one of my favorite superhero movies, just period. So I'm stoked. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. This is definitely a must-watch, so I'm way into this one. Let us know in the comments, guys, what you're looking forward to. I don't know if we have some comments already based on
Yeah, we do have some comments.
I would imagine so.
Someone was actually asking us if we were going to talk about the Blue Beetle movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
we did briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, more comments on Blue Beetle. Jaime's the GOAT, but I'm sure the movie will bomb. Blue will forever be DC's Sisyphus. I guess. Yeah. Interesting reference.
Interesting.
And is there nothing Olivia Colman can't do?
She's a queen. We don't deserve her.
Absolutely. That is 100% correct.
I mean,
and no, there's nothing she cannot do.
Nails it every time.
I know you're talking about now. Sorry, I had a blank. My brain locked up for a second.
Brain locked up. She's
brain
also
locked
in
up.
Heartstopper.
Oh, is she? Okay, all right. She like the principal?
No, she plays one of the main characters' moms.
Okay, all right, gotcha. Okay, I saw like 2 episodes, so forgive me.
Lame.
All right, let's jump on over to. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about this free comic book day bracket.
Oh God, I'm excited.
Yes, I am. This is getting. It's getting hot.
It's getting
Getting
spicy.
intense. It's getting real spicy. We're probably going to see an upset on this one.
Archie rallied the crew.
Yep, they did. They really did. So you want to lay it out for people, for those who are not familiar?
Yeah, so in the spirit of March Madness, or towards the end of it here, we're doing our own bracket, rival schools. We've pit some of the best rival schools in Nerdom against each other. We're in the semifinal round here. So today, or no, this went up yesterday, sorry. Yesterday was the Jedi Temple versus Riverdale High, Archie's high school. And Archie Comics has been super into this. And they've been, like I said, they've rallied the crew and they've been promoting the heck out of it. They're going for an upset here. So you can vote on the Free Comic Book Day Facebook page. We're voting using the react buttons, and we'll make sure to tell you in the caption what reaction corresponds to which school. This one's closed. It closed right before we started the show, and I didn't check who won that.
Well, let's check now. Can you click on it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Don't hide the results, Riley. Let's see it.
I'm pulling it up. It's it's on the.
Yeah, all you have to do is look at the. Just click the likes and
Hearts.
Hearts.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
It is 38 hearts to 19 likes. So I believe.
Who I've already forgotten which one was which.
Hearts is.
That is Archie winning, right? Yeah.
Oh my
Archie's
God.
Riverdale.
Yeah.
Look at that. I mean,
Wow.
That is because we actually had a comment saying, "Who do I have to talk to make sure the Jedi Temple wins the bracket?"
Archie
late.
Comics, apparently.
too late. And it looks like in next round it's going to be Archie versus either the X-Men or Power Rangers. So
Yeah.
you better jump in there. One thing this is my rationale, and we've talked about this before already. I even think I put it in the post itself. When you really think about it, right? Archie is kind of formidable because a lot of anything goes in Archie.
Yeah, all the time. Never makes any sense.
I'm just saying. So we already know that Jughead's a werewolf.
Yep.
Veronica's a vampire.
Yeah.
We know for a fact.
Cheryl's the Antichrist.
Cheryl's the Antichrist. That's also true. They have Sabrina, who's sometimes at Riverdale, I guess.
Yeah, Greendale's like the next town over.
Okay.
Sometimes she does mayhem in Riverdale.
Okay, sometimes she pops up in Riverdale, right? Then I also wanted to point out, and I think I put this in the post, Archie, the Riverdale crew has beat the Predator.
Yes. That's facts.
And they had a run-in with the Punisher as well. So I'm just saying.
And Batman 66.
And Batman, that's right. And Adam West and Burt Ward's Batman. So, and also apparently at one point in time, if I remember the plot correctly, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn went to Riverdale.
That's true. Against Betty and Veronica as vixens.
So I'm just saying, and I know some people are like, well, which version of these characters is this going to be? It's whichever one you want it to be.
Yeah.
So in my headcanon, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are also in that group.
That's you don't want to get mixed up with them.
So you got werewolves and everything. Every version of Archie ever existed, yes, I'm into it.
Yo, imagine if Archie pulls off the upset.
It's going to come down to...
Sorry, Tony.
Sorry, Tony. It's going to come down to, if the X-Men or Power Ranger fans show up. So.
And Boom wrangled the Power Ranger fans in the first round.
Also rallied the Power Rangers audience for this one. So it's going to get real tight if Power Rangers advances.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, guys, get over there and vote. The next one's going up today, right?
Yep, 3:30.
All right, 3:30. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. That's on the Free Comic Book Day Facebook specifically. I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to the chaos that'll emerge from that one.
Mania.
All right, let's get into Asinine Arguments.
This one makes no sense this week. Okay, so I forgot to post this, and I posted it right before the show started. So I asked Troy and Riley to give me some choices for the poll. And I asked them to name a historically ugly character. So, in the spirit of the Barbie trailer, which of these characters is in need of a Barbie Land makeover?
Well, we got 46 votes, so this is interesting.
Swamp Thing, Jabba the Hutt, Edward Scissorhands, or Two-Face?
Huh.
Who should be Barbified?
Who should be Barbified?
This is a great question.
This is a
Thanks.
great question. Yeah, this is a really good question. Huh.
Well, I'm trying to think like, that like Barbie plastic perfection. Like who would look the most interesting with that? And I'm thinking Jabba the Hutt. Yeah.
You got a lot of eyelid space for makeup too.
That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the,
A lot of room to work with.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Clone Wars had the female Hutt?
Oh, they did have a
Right.
female Hutt.
And that's the first thing I thought of when he said that. And I can't remember the character's name, but yeah.
Female Hutt.
Yeah, female Hutt. I don't remember what the name was.
Girl
but-
Hutt.
Girl Hutt.
Girl Hutt.
Jenny the Hutt.
Jenna the Hutt.
Jenna the Hutt. There you go.
Jenna.
Jabba Hutt would be wild.
See if people agree with me. Please do the Java. Yeah. Thank you, Stantastic, for.
I mean, Edward Scissorhands kind of got a makeover in the first.
He
one.
already wears makeup.
Yeah, he always wears makeup, but then the family took him in. The mom was like a Avon lady or something.
Oh,
Yeah, they,
Yeah, right. See, you forgot about that. See, and she did put some makeup on him, so
right.
might not
right.
be that much of a shift for Edward Scissorhands.
Two-Face, would you just do one side?
Yeah,
and the
that's
other
like-
side be
Yeah.
the same?
The Two-Face would be a challenge. Like, how do you fix the burnt side? And do you?
I don't know.
And Swamp Thing too. That's just a challenge. He's a swamp.
It's a big
Yeah,
challenge.
How do you give that a make?
I mean,
You
he's also
could
just-
braid all of his vines and stuff.
That's true. That's a good point. You could. I feel like Swamp Thing is like wet all the time.
Yeah, he's so damp.
Actually, just went ill. I'm gonna go with Two-Face. I think
this
that
is
like.
great, by the way.
Well,
Thank you. This is the
okay.
female. Very
Girl
thank
Hutt.
you.
Gardula,
the
okay.
female.
Gardula.
I'm gonna go with Two-Face just because I'm a sucker for a good full 60 story arc, and I feel like
Redemption arc.
I feel like this would be his redemption arc. And like
Yeah.
he'd probably become a nicer person because of it.
One can only hope. It'd be hard to be worse.
You want to go with Two-Face? See what the results are.
I don't know. Ashton,
My vote would be for Java because
Alright,
it's
I'm going-
funny.
Job.
I'm going Jabba too. I think you're outvoted.
Sorry, Jory.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's kind of close though.
Yeah, it actually is pretty close. Yeah, Edward Scissorhands is definitely the least one.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Two-Face, Swamp Thing, very close, and then Jabba the Hutt's the winner.
Yeah. All right.
I
Jabba
agree.
the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt would be very funny in makeup.
I mean, you know what? Lay job and no bother. Let's go. All right. Let's jump into. Yeah, we're getting actually. The show's running long again. We did the poll. Which part made you laugh? I'm curious now.
There's a female Hutt, a girl Hutt.
I couldn't remember her name. Is Gardula? Is that what it? Gardula?
Girl Hutt.
Gardula, yeah, that's
okay.
what we were told. We also have this from Annie saying "sweaty swamp Barbie,"
Oh.
thing, which is such a good name.
So gross.
I love it. You know, also like the idea of Barbie like being pulled into cosmic horror, which is essentially what Swamp Thing is when you get it.
Right.
When Alan Moore writes him anyway. So that would be interesting too to see like Barbie's like brain melt from like any number of things that might happen encountering Swamp Thing. All right, what? Oh, comic shop shout out.
You're right.
There you go.
You are right.
You know, both of us like, what are we doing? Okay, comic shop shout out.
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Red Skull Comics in Calgary, Canada. It comes from Troy, other Troy.
So
And
like, what?
he says that Red Skull is his favorite. So we'll show you some pictures inside of Red Skull at the end of the show during the credits roll. You can check out their shop. If you want us to shout out your local comic book shop on the show, find us on social media, tag your shop. If they don't have a handle, just leave their name and use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS. We'll find your local comic book shop, shout them out on the show, and give them some love.
Absolutely. And here's your reminder to like, follow, and subscribe. You can hang out with me over at PREVIEWSworld.com or at PREVIEWSworld on social media. Switching up a bit, we're doing a little bit more focus. We're going to talk a little bit more about our social media. We're going to try to do some more fun things with you guys, like, for example, the Rival Schools thing.
Yes.
So that was a lot of fun. And you can hang out with Ashton at Free Comic Book Day, right?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Good time.
All right. I love the enthusiasm. Also, I just want to point out, there's a few things on our website right now that I can't remember right now. Riley, can you just throw them on screen?
Man, look at that. That's
So,
a good lunchbox.
Yes. Teen Titans is doing a Deadpool PX lunchbox. It also comes with a beverage container. We've been doing a kind of collection of these lately. There's been some really cool ones. There was a really cool Transformers the movie one.
The Last Ronin one.
There's the Last Ronin one that was fairly recent, and then on top of that, there was also the X-Men #1 cover that was also kind of cool as well.
Yeah.
And so this is the latest one for you Deadpool fans out there. Here's the thing, right? These are all Previews exclusive items, which means your store can only really get them through us. So make sure you let them know that you're interested in any of these, and be sure to browse the catalog section of our website and to kind of like see what's currently available, right? And what else do we got?
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right. Hey, that
Good
works
job,
for me.
team.
I guess that's it for Previous World Weekly.
I like how that was a question.
Yeah. It says Free Comic Book Day. It says Free Comic Book Day wrap up.
Oh, I just was talking about referencing that it's on May 6th.
Okay.
I think there's something happening on May 6th.
There could be something on May 6th.
Something on May 6th.
It's hard to
I
say
don't
what it would
know.
be.
We'll see. I don't know. Maybe even the first Saturday in May, pan over to Ashton's over Ashton's shoulder. Right. All right. Well, I guess that's it for us this week, guys. Hopefully, we've entertained you and informed you and misinformed you and probably made you angry a couple of times. That is our job every single week. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And we'll see all of you at the Spinner Rack. Catch you later.
Come on.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly videos that spotlight the great titles that you can find at your friendly local comic shop.